fairness and biasness in models and how to work with that. So I guess we will do a detailed workshop later on. Thank you, Margaret. So I would like to announce HUZAIFA now to conduct a detailed hands-on workshop on the topics so that you audience can get more insights about how everything is going on, how it works. But thank you.
Okay. So just introducing HUZAIFA. HUZAIFA is a developer advocate at IBM dedicated to enable enterprise and local developers on the latest data and AI tools. So I welcome HUZAIFA to the stage and show what Watson is up about and how it can help people to implement machine learning.
Thank you, Mesum. Okay, so hello everyone. First of all, before I proceed to the hands-on part, I would like to share a few things. First of all, the developer advocacy team has been organizing a lot of workshops and webinars all over the world. I would request Ali to share the meetup page for the Middle East and Africa region. So that would be good if you want to learn about new technologies by IBM as well as the open source. It would be good to keep an eye on the meetup link. So let's proceed to the hands-on part. For my hands-on, I have a rather something that will require, I would say, no coding experience and no coding as well. So let's just create a new project in IBM Cloud Pack for Data. Dr. Marguerite showed you how to create a project, so we will just start creating a project. Let's click Create a Project. We don't have any sample files, so we will create an empty one. So let's just name it anything you want, but just however you're comfortable. And this shows that we don't have any storage service associated with the project. So whatever data or whatever asset that you will use in your project, it needs to reside in some form of storage on the cloud, right? So let's just add the storage. And it's showing us that it's already selected the light plan, which is free. And it gives you up to 25 gigabytes per month. So this plan is already selected. We will just click Create. By the way, I would just like to check if I'm audible and if you can see my screen.
Yep, we can see your screen and we can hear you perfectly as well.
Perfect. Okay, so now it's showing me it's asking me to refresh the page. Now you can see that it's showing me that the cloud storage has been associated with the project. I have named it. The description is optional, so it would be okay if you don't put it in. Now let's click Create. I hope that you have downloaded the data set that was shared by Ali in the chat, because we will have to use ADDO.AI to predict the churn classification. So before I will talk about the use case, but let's just go to the settings first. This is basically our project dashboard. And as we want to do something related to the machine learning, we will have to add a machine learning service. So when we go to settings, you will go to the associated services. You can see that currently we don't have any. So let's just click Add Service and Watson. Now we want to add machine learning service because this service is actually the one that will provide us with all the algorithms and all the machine learning frameworks like Keras, TensorFlow. So it's already selected as light plan. We get up to 8 cores, up to actually 16 cores and 64 gigabytes RAM. And it allows us to deploy 5 machine learning models. That's actually free plan. So let's click Create. My region is already the one which is selected for the Cloud Pack for Data. So I would like to keep it like that for reducing latency. The service name is fine. You can name it if you want, and then we will click Confirm. So ADDO.AI, the tool that we'll be using today, it actually automates your whole AI lifecycle. So whenever you have a problem, let's just talk about our case. We have a classification problem. So we have a sample data set that has the records of customers, and we want to identify if the customers are a churn or not. So the churn customers are the ones that are most likely to leave our network. And so if we want to predict whether a customer is churn or not, that is a classification problem, since we will be classifying a customer into a churn or not a churn. So ADDO.AI actually does that for you. If you just want to, you just have to input your data set, and then it will automatically do all the data pre-processing. It will make all the pipelines for your model. It will actually choose the best performing model for you as well. And then you just have to save it and then deploy it as a model. And then you can use it in your application, or you can use the endpoint URL to basically score that API, like to score that model. So I'm sure that you are familiar with this add to project thing. Dr. Margaret explained it very well. So we will be just adding the ADDO.AI experiment. You can see here. So now let's just name it. It still doesn't matter whatever you want to name it. You can see that we have the machine learning service associated with it, and then we have the compute configuration. So for the free plan, for the light plan, it's actually giving us 8 cores and 8 virtual cores and 32 gigabytes of RAM for our machine learning workload. So let's just click create. So once it's created, it will ask us for the data source, as this is the only input that we have to put. So I'll just browse for a file. I hope that you have downloaded it already. So we have this file, and let's just open it. So it will read the file, and it will automatically detect if it's a classification problem, if it's a regression problem. We can change it if we want to play with the experiment settings. I'll just give you a brief overview of the settings as well. So now it's asking us, what do we want to predict? We want to predict churn, which is the last attribute or the last column. So let's just click churn, and now it's showing us that it's a binary classification. If it's a yes, then yeah, it's a churn, and then we will be like the metric that we will be using to actually rank the best model or the best algorithm would depend on the accuracy, like how much accuracy does it have. We have 2 options, experiment settings and run experiment. So let me just give you an overview of the experiment settings as well. So here we can decide our training data or hold out data split. We have our columns that we want to include in our prediction or in our experiment. Then we have the options for selecting the problem. You can see that it's already removed the option for regression, so that we don't do it by mistake, because it knows that it's a classification problem, so it could only be a binary one or a multi-class one. Then we want to specify the positive class. So that is yes, because the churn attribute, if you look at the data set, it's valued as yes or no. And then we have the metric we want to select. It's recommended that we use accuracy, since in our goal or in our usual machine learning workloads, we demand that the model that we're using is an accurate one, or it's at least the highly accurate one. Then we have the different suggestions for the algorithms that it's chosen itself. These are all the classifying algorithms, so we will just keep it like that. And then we can actually select that how many algorithms should it choose. So for example, we have selected it as 2, so it will take the 2 top performing ones, and then it will create 4 different models for each algorithm. It will do some feature engineering. It will do some hyperparameter optimization in the way. These two are really important concepts when it comes to data preparation and also when it comes to model tuning. You can check it out later on, and there's a whole theory behind the parameter optimization and the feature engineering. And then we can select our runtime. So it's giving us the basic overview, like how many iterations will it take for the feature engineering and etc. So let's just click Save Settings, and we'll be back to the main page. Now let's click Run Experiment. This is a churn classification problem, but we also have a problem that is the same classification one, and it's about fraud prediction. So the one that that is similar to what Dr. Marguerite was talking about, that whether if we loan a customer, if we give, let's suppose if we give $1 million loan to a customer, whether it would be a fraud risk or not. So that is also a classification problem that will run same as that. So I would request Ali to share that link as well in the chat so that you can experiment with it later on. That is a very detailed tutorial, so it would be good for you. Okay, so right now we have this main AUTO.AI page. On the upper end, that is with ship map, and then the progress map, we can actually see the progress of our experiment. I prefer the progress map since it shows me a tree kind of structure. So as I was saying, that it's selecting 2 models, and then it will create 4 different models for each algorithm. Some models will have optimization for one time. Some will have optimization twice and then feature engineering. Some will have all 3 of these enhancements. So based on the accuracy, it will actually rank the top performing one. And then we just have to save it and deploy it. It will also give us the endpoint URL, so we can call that using our Python API or Java or even curl command. It will also give us that one. I'll show you later on. So right now you can see that it has split up the data, it has pre-processed it, and then it is in the process of selecting an algorithm. So the top one, or the one of the 2, is gradient boosting. These, I will not go into the detail of these algorithms due to shortage of time. But yeah, you can always check out the documentation of scikit-learn or even these algorithms. They will be, you will find a lot of information about these. So you can see that it's actually created 2 models or 2 pipelines for us. And so far, the pipeline 2 has been performing well. I'm better since its accuracy is more, 0.805. And it will take some time, maybe just 3 minutes overall, but it will actually create 8 different models for you, and then it will rank the number 1. You can see that building just a 1 model took it like 24 seconds. So it's actually pretty fast. It's actually very time-saving. And the top, I would say the most impressive feature of using this AUTO.AI is that, even if you don't have an expertise or deep knowledge on different algorithms and what approaches that you want to take, you will still be able to solve a problem with very well approach using AUTO.AI. Because whenever you're dealing with a machine learning or an AI problem, before starting anything, you have to decide what approach do you want to take. What kind of data transformations would you have to do to actually get your required results? And selecting the best algorithm or the most optimal algorithm. What would be the tuning steps that you would have to take to increase the accuracy? There's a lot of different, I would say, there's a lot of knowledge that goes on behind solving a problem, but this AUTO.AI actually bridges that gap. So if you're a data scientist, who is experienced for like 5 years, 6 years, or if you're just a data enthusiast who's trying to learn these things, it would be a good start for you as well. So right now it's performing feature engineering for creating the model 3, which is now created. So you can see that even if the model 3 was created, the pipeline 2 is still the better performing one. It didn't match the accuracy, or it didn't exceed the accuracy. So meanwhile, it's creating the pipelines. Let me just go to a pipeline that's already been created. And let me just show you how it looks inside. So it's giving us the accuracy. It's giving us some different terms like area under the curve, your loss, which is actually the opposite of the accuracy. So if your accuracy is good, then it means that your loss is minimum. Then we have an important thing that is confusion metric. So this shows us how well our model was performed or has performed. So in terms of pipeline 2, there were 468 records that were actually no, and it predicted as no. But then there were 50 that it predicted wrong, and then they were actually no, but it predicted them as yes. So they were not a risk, but it predicted them as a risk. And the same goes for the risk as well. So you can see that the purple box shows that it's less correct, like this standard is not good, and then there is more correct, which means that okay, now it's performing good. It's just pipeline 2, and now it's ranked as second. So that means that we have a more performing one. Yeah, so we have the pipeline 4 is now the top of them. And it will create 8 pipelines, so 4 for each model. The second model selected was the XGBoost, which is also a gradient boosting, which is an advanced form of a gradient boosting classifier. And it will take the same approaches for creating the 4 pipelines for XGB as well. Oh, and by the way, if we just change this view, we can actually have a pipeline comparison for all of the pipelines here. This is experiment summary. If we just click pipeline comparison, it will give us the comparison, like how much better or how better has each pipeline performed. So you can see that the accuracy, this one is the top one. Yeah, so it's pipeline 4 that had the most accuracy, right? But you can see that why it was suggested as the accuracy suggested as the metric, because you can see that if we had selected it loss, like the log loss, if we will select the model that has the minimum log loss. You can see that we have other models like pipeline 2 that has even lesser loss than the pipeline 4, but we selected the accuracy because we want to get the as much accuracy as possible. It depends on your problem. If your approach as well, whatever you want to choose, you can basically choose on the basis of your metric. So if you have a problem that requires that the model that you will choose must have the minimum loss or the least loss, or maybe its precision should be the most, or maybe F1 loss should be minimum. So that depends on your problem. So we have created 6 pipelines, but up till now the pipeline 4 is winning.
Huzaifa, you have like 8 to 9 minutes left. So maybe in the meantime, your pipeline is building. You can share something else, maybe your slides.
Sure. I would go to. I would like to show you something impressive. So here we have the developer site for IBM. I was mentioning the tutorial for the fraud prediction that was also about auto AI. So that was also based on, or that was also published on the developer side. This site is actually a really good resource for you in terms of, you can see that we have these as well. So this is the tutorial that Ali has shared with you. You can, take a look at it in your personal time. It also gives you both approaches to solve the same problem using auto AI, but then it also gives you the approach to do it by using a Jupyter notebook, like through coding. But you can explore that later. So I will just, meanwhile the pipeline is building, I will give you an overview of this website. So you can see that we have, like on this website, we have a whole, like a huge developer community who are publishing different articles. They are publishing different code patterns, tutorials regarding AI, analytics, maybe Node.js, blockchain. So let's just click on AI, let's say. And then you can find out a lot of other tutorials, blogs, articles. You can see that we have courses as well. By the way, that reminds me of something that IBM has also collaborated with Coursera, and they are giving a free month. I'm sure Qamar will share more details later on. So yeah, make sure to check that out as well. So we have different podcasts, we have tutorials. Let's just click on tutorials. So these tutorials are actually, step by step instructions for you to follow. So for example, it will give you each step that you can use to do any use case or to, use any tool. It's about a lot of IBM offerings as well as the open source tools as well. Because I'm from the data and AI team, so for example, if in my terms, it has courses on or tutorials on Keras, TensorFlow, scikit-learn, Python, R, Spark. So you can find a lot of different things on this developer community or developer site. So I would suggest you to please visit it in your free time to learn anything new, or to, it's always good to get something or to learn something new. Knowledge always pays off. Let me check if it's done. Okay, so it's in the time of building pipeline 7. I don't know if it's the fault with my internet or what. Right, so let me just take you to, okay, so we have opened the machine learning section of it. So you can see we have code patterns. So code patterns are actually a detailed documentation plus the code for your any use case or any problem. So don't so it's basically, these things are not limited to these use cases only. These are just examples for you that you can do or that you can explore, but you can always use the same implementation or use the same approach for any other problem as well, for any similar problem. And then we have, so this is the how it basically works. So instead of waiting for it, let me just show you how we can deploy it meanwhile. So for example, right now pipeline 4 has been performing the best. So we just have two choices: either P7 will basically outmatch him, or P8. But let's just suppose if it's pipeline 4, it's giving us the options to save it as a model or as a notebook. So if you're Python enthusiast and if you want to use the code, you can always save it as a notebook. It will give everything or every instruction in code. So I'm going to just save it as a model. You can keep it whatever the name you have, and then let's just save it. Also, pipeline 7 was built, but it's also not good as pipeline 4. So let's just create it in, let's just see in the project. I'm sorry about my internet. I don't know what's wrong with it since yesterday. Okay, so basically it's giving us the different, you know, information for our model, and it's showing us that our model is not deployed yet. So let's just click on add deployment. You can name it anything you want. I'll just name it as a churn predictor, and it will be saved as a web service. So let's just save it. Now, once it's ready, it will actually be showing the status of initializing, or it's like the ready. So let's just go back to the project, and let me show you another way where you can find the deployments as well. So this is our main project, right? It's showing that the AI experiment is still running because it's building the pipeline 8. But then we have our machine learning model that's also added in the asset now. And these are the deployments. So now you can see that our pipeline number 4 that we basically deployed is initializing. And by the way, you can also do 2 other approaches as well. I'll just take 1 more minute to explain it, and then we will end the hands-on part. So if when you save your model and you somehow go back to the project, you can also deploy your model by clicking on the 3 dots or the menu on the model name. So you can also deploy it through that, and it will take you to the same page. And then we have our jobs. That's another approach. You can set a job, or you can set a schedule to run. So basically, any model that you want to deploy, or any notebook that you want to run, or maybe it's an SPSS flow. That's also another approach to to develop and deploy AI models. You can always schedule them for another time. So that's also another way to. Oh yeah, something is definitely wrong with my internet right now. Let me see if it allows me to go inside the deployment. Oh, thank God. So it is allowing me. Okay, so let me just show you the endpoint before I complete the hands-on part. So this is the endpoint, like this is the URL that you will hit to use in your application. And then we have the ID as well. You can get it here. And then it's also giving us the code snippets if you want to use it in our code. So we have the curl command. It's showing us the input that we will have to use, and then the URL that we will have to basically hit. It's also showing us the code snippet. Come on. For JavaScript, if you're a fan of JavaScript. For me, it's Python, so it's also showing me that. And then if you are a user of Scala, then you can use that as well. So if you want to just test your model as well, you can always go to these inputs where you can put your records. You can use this method as well as a JSON array. So it's your completely it's your choice if you want to use any one of the facility. And then if you click on predict, it will give you the result whether the customer is churn or not. Yeah, so thank you very much. That's all about Auto AI, and it's just a use case. I would highly recommend you to explore more use cases as well, so you have a better understanding of how you can furthermore use Auto AI. Thank you very much.
Thank you, HUZAIFA. So, HUZAIFA had a webinar as well in which he discussed fraud prediction using AutoAI in detail. I have shared the link in the chat. You guys can follow that too if you want to explore AutoAI in more detail. And one more special announcement I have for you guys. So, I have shared a link to create free IBM Cloud account. So, you have to create your account and follow HUZAIFA's workshop that he has shared, and email me a screenshot that you have completed the work